So I said that with some data sets that had extreme outliers that there could be problems with data visualization. Here is a table showing all 2015 earthquakes that were 4.0 and above. You can see that there are lots and lots of 4.0 earthquakes, and there are even more of lower magnitudes. But what I want to do is show you what would happen if I decided to plot the earthquakes from 5.0 to 8.9. So here are some axes, and I'm going to label them. I'm going to label the vertical axis from 5.0 to 9.0. And all 1,568 earthquakes in the data set that I'm considering here are going to be arranged weakest to strongest. It's going to be like a scatter plot. So here's the strongest earthquake from 2015. It was an 8.3 in Chile. And all of the earthquakes from 5.0 to 6.0 are going to fit in this blue rectangle. It turns out that 90% of the earthquakes that I'm considering were below 6.0. So there would be 1,422 data points smooshed in here. And then between 6.0 and 7.0, there were only 127 earthquakes in that range, and they would all be smooshed in this little tiny square. But there are even fewer earthquakes that were between 7.0 and 7.9. 18 points would be smashed in this little range right there, this little gold rectangle. And there's that single outlier. There's the big Chile earthquake that was 8.3. And so I feel like, wouldn't it be great if these points weren't here? Then I could make a nice spread out graph with just this range, and it would be blown up, and I would be able to see all the differences that were in here and maybe see some patterns that I couldn't before. I don't have to remove data points to do that. Log scales can do that for me. Here's a different kind of example. This is the United States GDP from 1890 to 2015. Naturally, it's going up. The economy is growing, inflation and all that. Now here, this little dip, that's the 2008 recession. And this guy right here, that's the Great Depression. Do you remember in 1929, the stock market had hit its all-time high, and then it crashed in the early 30s, and it stayed low until World War II. Based on what you see here, which one appears worse? To me, this dip really grabs your attention, and it seems like the 2008 recession is worse. But this is what happens when I apply a logarithm to my y-axis. So instead of the raw dollar amounts over here, I have just whatever I get when I apply a log to it. And now you can see that the 2008 recession is right here, and certainly there's a dip, but it sure doesn't look as serious as the dip that we experienced in GDP from the Great Depression. And clear as day, you can see that the GDP dropped to a terrible low, and then World War II boosted our production tremendously, and so it rocketed us out of that depression. And so, like I said, log scales help us see things that we couldn't before.